These terrifying tales will have you wondering about the extent of human brutality, from the horrifying process of cutting hands to the spine-chilling preparation of human soup. So without wasting time, let's jump into this video and see these brutal tortures. The renowned cartels have long been notorious in the murky underbelly of organized crime for their brutal methods and cunning strategies. These criminal organizations have developed various horrific torture methods that permanently damage their victims. They are motivated by power and a desire for control. The extent of their depravity has no boundaries, from the reprehensible act of chopping off hands to the grotesque production of human soup. Cartels, which are frequently linked to drug trafficking, have grown to be formidable criminal organizations with a focus on Latin American nations. These organizations aim to secure their illegal operations and put an end to their opponents by imposing a reign of terror. They did this with the help of enormous financial resources and a merciless pursuit of power. Torture carried out by cartel members terrorized local populations and garnered international attention. International organizations and human rights groups denounced these crimes against humanity and demanded that those responsible be brought to account. Governments stepped up their efforts to battle cartels, yet breaking up these strong criminal administrations is still difficult. Cutting off is one of the most terrifying methods used by these cartels, instilling terror in the minds of anybody unlucky enough to come into contact with them. This horrific punishment serves as a chilling reminder of the cartel's power and savage character. As a sword slashes through blood and bone, victims are frequently tied, and their limbs are securely bound to prevent escape. This torturous technique causes excruciating physical agony and leaves survivors with lasting psychological scars. The motivations behind these horrific amputations might range from intimidation against rival gangs or prospective informants to punishment for treason or disobedience. The cartels see these horrifying mutilations as a way to keep control by terrifying their adversaries and dissuading others from opposing them. It is also uncommon for the severed heads to be on display as a gruesome prize and a warning to anybody trying to defy them. Some cartels have engaged in the macabre practice of making human soup as punishment, as if amputating limbs wasn't horrible enough. This horrifying training entails the dismemberment of a victim and the cooking of their body parts into an abhorrent stew in a big cauldron. In addition to robbing victims of their lives, this terrible technique also removes them of their humanity, turning them into nothing more than a component of this heinous dish. Such terrible crimes are frequently motivated by a desire to engender terror and exert power. Cartels use these tactics to convey a terrible message to their opponents and the broader public, relishing the absolute dread that their deeds elicit. Human soup is meant to be a warning, a reminder that the cartels have an unmatched capacity for cruelty and would do anything to keep their grip on power. It is important to understand that the cartel's employment of such heinous forms of torture is not a new development. The criminal underworld has a long history of engaging in these horrifying practices. However, as the cartels try to cement their authority amid growing hostilities and power struggles, their ubiquity and notoriety have grown recently. The savagery of these torture methods emphasizes the urgent necessity for coordinated international actions to counter the cartel's power and break up their criminal networks. It conflicts between organized criminality and the core of human nature's baser tendencies. Global authorities and human rights organizations have been slavishly pursuing exposing and eradicating these abhorrent practices. These groups want to bring attention to the crimes the cartels have done, obtain public support, and pressure lawmakers to take more severe action against these organized crime groups. Efforts ranging from greater law enforcement collaboration to expanded intelligence sharing are being sought to stop cartel operations and bring their leaders to jail. Due to the cartel's extensive resources and global reach of influence, fighting them is a difficult and dangerous endeavor. But those committed to justice continue to be motivated by the shared will to restrain their power and save innocent lives. Society can only expect to end the cartel's reign of evil by banding together and refusing to ignore the atrocities they commit. In addition to the way we've just mentioned, a dismal range of techniques have been used by cartels to inflict the most pain and terror. The flaying is one of the most often utilized techniques. This terrible technique includes removing the victim's skin, frequently in a very slow and methodical manner. The cartels torture their victims to terrible suffering by using intelligent devices to scrape away layers of skin. Flaying is a cruel punishment to crush a victim's spirit and establish power. Beyond that, waterboarding simulated drowning and was developed from interrogation tactics. It is confined on a tilted board so the victim's head is lower than her feet. Water is poured into the face while a towel covers it, creating a terrible feeling of suffocation. Serious psychological and bodily harm may result from this technique. Torture using electric shocks entails delivering unpleasant electrical currents to the victim's body. Typically, electrodes are linked to numerous body parts, including temperate regions like the genitalia, to carry out this approach. The voltage of the shocks can range from low to very high, causing severe agony and frequently leaving long-lasting physical and psychological scars. The cartels then use pliers or other instruments to forcibly remove each victim's nail one at a time in this cruel technique. This surgery causes tremendous agony and can result in serious infections and lifelong deformities. The removal of nails is frequently done as a form of punishment or to get data. In the past, fire has been used as a form of torture by cartels, causing severe bodily harm and excruciating anguish. Victims may be tied up or shackled before being exposed to burning materials, such as hot metal rods or open flames. Deliberately and repeatedly coming into contact with fire can cause serious burns, disfigurement, and even death. Sexual violence is a common tool used by cartels for control, degrading treatment, and punishment. Both male and female victims are subjected to violent, frequently in public or as a method of coercing cooperation. The victims of this type of torture suffer long-lasting mental and physical scars. Forced disappearances are a horrific strategy used by cartels, even though they are not a form of torture in and of themselves. Victims are kidnapped and then mysteriously disappear, putting their families in constant distress and dread. Communities are terrorized by this tactic, which also serves as a sobering reminder of the cartel's might and influence. These practices are used as tools of control, punishment, and psychological warfare to subdue the human spirit and keep the cartels in power. These torture techniques' heinousness and brutality are a sharp reminder of the urgent need for international cooperation and concerted action to fight organized crime. Society may contribute towards a better future by exposing these abhorrent practices and supporting attempts to break up criminal networks. People who become caught in the web of organized crime or who constitute a danger to the cartel's authority and activities are frequently the main targets of the torture techniques used by the cartels. These terrible crimes might have many targets, representing many racial and ideological groups. Rival gangs and cartels frequently engage in bloody turf battles and power struggles. Captured or kidnapped members of competing organizations become perfect candidates for torture, used to establish control, get information, or spread terror among opposing groups. Contrarily, the cartels place a high value on loyalty and secrecy within their ranks. People are frequently tortured when they are thought to cooperate with law authorities or betray the organization. The goal is to extract confessions, uncover potential informants, and send a chilling message to others contemplating betraying the cartel. Cartels frequently target authorities engaged in anti-cartel operations in their efforts to preserve control and escape prosecution. Cartels torture individuals to intimidate and discourage law enforcement, obstruct investigations, and undermine the legal system. Additionally, cartels regularly use kidnapping to extract ransom payments and other forms of extortion. These captives, frequently unarmed citizens or people with valuable connections or resources, may endure brutal torture while their captors try to get money or gain influence over their families. Innocent bystanders regularly find themselves caught in the crossfire in regions with strong cartel influence. To retain control over the local populace or to send a message to communities that reject or oppose the cartel's existence, these people may be the targets of random acts of violence and torture. It is significant to highlight that victims of cartel torture go beyond these classifications. No one who defies the cartel's rule of terror or is considered a danger to their business operations is spared. Targets can include journalists, human rights advocates, and those who unintentionally get involved in cartel business and suffer horrible torture. The cartel's selection of victims is to uphold their supremacy, spread terror, and eliminate any perceived challenges to their operations. They want to create power, maintain an atmosphere of dread, and dissuade others from resisting them by inflicting such horrific suffering and brutality. It is crucial to remember the fortitude and resiliency of people who have endured these painful ordeals in the face of such horrific evil. Besides facing unspeakable agony and suffering, these survivors act as a source of inspiration and a reminder of the unbreakable spirit inside each of us.